Okay, strap yourselves in. We're going deep today. Gold, crypto, and the hunt for those massive gains. The ones everyone's after.
Yeah.
You guys send over some pretty interesting articles.
Yeah.
One digging into the history of gold prices, and then another all about this Pulse Zen crypto. They're making some wild claims.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating comparison, isn't it? You've got this steady, almost predictable world of gold. And then on the other hand, you have this volatile, chaotic world of crypto. Really makes you think, what does value even mean?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so just to kind of set the stage here, one source goes deep into how gold has performed over time, adjusted for inflation and all that. And the other one focuses on Pulse Zen and their claims of, get this, over 10,000% gains, like in just a few weeks.
Wow.
I don't know about you, but that definitely got my attention.
Yeah, 10,000% will definitely get your attention. But I think what's really interesting is comparing that with gold's performance. The article you sent over mentions that back in 1984, gold was priced around $360 an ounce. And if you adjust that for inflation, that's almost $1,100 in today's money.
So basically, like over 40 years, the inflation-adjusted price of gold has just about doubled.
Yeah.
Not exactly groundbreaking, is it?
Well, it's important to keep in mind that gold is a lot of times seen as a safe haven asset,
Right.
a hedge against inflation. It's not really about making huge, quick gains, but more about just protecting your money and having steady, even if they're not spectacular, returns.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. It's like the tortoise in the race, slow and steady.
Exactly.
But then you've got Pulse Zen, which is more like, I don't know, a hare strapped to a rocket,
Yeah.
promising to win in the blink of an eye. But, I mean, is it really all it's cracked up to be?
I think that's the million-dollar question. Because cryptocurrencies, just by their nature, are incredibly volatile. And while some people have definitely made a ton of money, a lot of people have also seen their investments disappear just as quickly.
So Pulse Zen is boasting these crazy returns. It's almost like we're comparing apples and oranges here. Can we even put these two things in the same category?
Well, it's true. They work in very different ways.
Right.
But they're both often seen as stores of value, though with very different levels of risk. Gold, it's been around for thousands of years. It's a tangible asset with a track record of surviving tough times.
Yeah.
Crypto, on the other hand, is the new kid on the block, driven by technology and really fueled by speculation.
Right. Okay. So we have this kind of fundamental tension then between stability and the potential for huge, fast growth. I started to see why this is such an interesting topic. But let's get into some of the nitty-gritty of Pulse Zen. The article mentions some interesting things like pay it forward, tokenomics, a burn function, even a charity wallet.
Yeah, those features are designed to, they're cleverly designed to make it seem like there's a limited supply and a sense of community, which can really drive up demand and, in theory, boost the price. So with the pay it forward model, a percentage of every transaction gets redistributed to everyone who holds the tokens. It's like built-in incentive to hold on to them and watch them go up in value.
Okay, so it's kind of like built-in incentive to hold on to the tokens and watch them hopefully appreciate in value.
Exactly.
And then the burn function adds what? Another layer to that whole limited supply idea?
Yeah, exactly. So by destroying a small amount of tokens with each transaction, the total supply shrinks over time, which theoretically pushes the value of the remaining tokens higher.
Right.
And then you add that charity aspect to it, which gives it a feel-good element.
Right.
It makes you feel like you're doing something good.
Yeah, but I gotta ask, are these features actually innovative, or are they just clever marketing to generate hype?
Well, that's where, a healthy dose of skepticism is crucial, because while these mechanisms might sound great, it's really important to remember that any investment, especially in crypto, comes with risks.
Right. You can't just get caught up in the hype without thinking about what could go wrong.
Exactly.
Sounds like we need to break these features down even more and see if they really hold up.
Yeah, for sure. We got to look beyond the surface and really understand what's going on underneath. Are these features really adding value, or are they just smoke and mirrors to attract investors?
And maybe even more importantly, what does this all tell us about how we look at investments in a world where hype and speculation can sometimes, overshadow real value? This is where it gets really interesting.
It's funny you mention hype, because one of the articles you sent over actually brings up the Howey test, specifically talking about Pulse Zen.
Oh, yeah, the Howey test. I remember reading about that. It's
Yeah.
like a legal thing
Yeah,
to figure out if something's a security, right?
exactly. In the U.S., the Howey test is how they determine if something is an investment contract, which basically means it has to follow all the rules and regulations that securities do.
So it sounds like Pulse Zen is really trying to avoid being labeled as a security.
It definitely looks that way. The article mentions that they have this disclaimer saying there's like no expectation of profit from the work of others and no common enterprise when it comes to Pulse Zen.
That sounds like they're walking a really fine line there. So how does this Howey test even work? Like, what are the actual criteria?
Well, it basically boils down to four things. First, there has to be an investment of money.
Okay.
Second, that investment has to be in a common enterprise.
Mm.
Third, there has to be an expectation of profits.
Well,
And lastly, those profits have to come mainly from the efforts of others.
okay, so let's try to apply that to Pulse Zen then. The first part, the investing money part, seems pretty straightforward. People are buying Pulse Zen tokens. But what about the common enterprise thing?
Yeah, that's where it gets a little tricky. Pulse Zen, like a lot of crypto projects,
Right.
works on a decentralized network. So they're basically saying there's no central group controlling everything, so no common enterprise.
But what about that pay-it-forward system? The one where some of each transaction is given to all the token holders.
Yeah.
Doesn't that create, like, a sense of shared profits?
Yeah, it's a good point. That feature definitely makes things a little fuzzy.
Yeah.
But Pulse Zen could argue, that redistribution is just part of how the network works, not like a central group managing an investment.
I see. So it becomes like a legal debate.
Yeah.
What about that expectation of profits? Obviously, people buying Pulse Zen are hoping to make money, especially with them throwing around those 10,000% return numbers.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that expectation of profit is definitely there.
Yeah.
But Pulse Zen could come back and say that any increase in price is simply because of the market,
Yeah.
not because of any promises they made.
So they could say it's all speculation, not their fault.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what about that last part, the profits coming from the work of others?
This is another area where they'd probably argue that their decentralized structure means nobody's relying on some central team or person to make money. They might say the value comes from the community, the technology, and how the market is doing.
So basically, Pulse Zen is trying to say they're just a decentralized protocol, not some investment scheme run by a central group.
Exactly.
It's really interesting how these legal details play out in the crypto world. But taking a step back, let's compare this to gold. There's no confusion about gold, right? It's a real physical thing with a long history of value.
Yeah, exactly. Gold has what's called intrinsic value.
Okay.
It's used in industries. It's a hedge against inflation. And it's been a store of value for centuries. Crypto, on the other hand, mostly gets its value from how people see it and how widely it's used.
So with gold, you're basically betting on something tangible, something that's proven itself over time.
Right.
But with crypto, you're kind of betting on the future, that this technology is going to become more popular and the value is going to keep going up.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And that brings us back to that whole tension we were talking about before. Stability versus potential for big growth.
Right.
Gold is like that steady, dependable tortoise.
Mm-hmm.
While crypto, and especially Pulse Zen, is that risky, high-reward hare.
But even with gold being slower and steadier, there's still some risk, right? I mean, the price of gold can change.
Yeah.
And there's no guarantee it'll always be valuable.
Oh, for sure. No investment is completely risk-free.
Right.
But gold's history and the fact that it's a physical thing offer a level of security that a lot of investors like, especially when the economy is uncertain.
So it seems like deciding between gold and crypto really depends on how much risk you're willing to take, what your investment goals are, and how you see the future of technology and finance.
And it doesn't have to be one or the other.
Right.
A lot of investors choose to diversify, putting some money in gold for stability and some in crypto for potential growth. It's all about finding that balance that works for your situation and how comfortable you are with risk.
And this is where our listeners really need to do their own research.
Absolutely.
We've kind of laid out the basics, highlighted the key things to think about. Now it's up to each person to figure out their own path. So we've talked about a lot in this deep dive, everything from how gold has performed over time to those big claims from Pulse Zen, and even how crypto is regulated.
Yeah, it's been quite a ride.
It really shows just how much the world of investing is changing all the time. We've seen how things that seem totally different, like gold and crypto, can both be seen as stores of value, even though they have very different risks and growth potential.
Yeah, for sure.
We've also seen how important it is to look past the hype in marketing, especially with crypto. We got to really understand how things work and what the risks are.
Couldn't agree more. Doing your research and thinking critically are essential skills for any investor, no matter what you're looking at, whether it's gold, crypto, or anything else.
Absolutely. So as we wrap things up here, what are some key takeaways for our listeners? As they're navigating their own investment journeys?
Well, first and foremost, I think it's crucial to understand your own risk tolerance. Like, are you okay with slow and steady growth, like that tortoise?
Yeah.
Or do you want to go for those high risk, high reward plays like the hare on a rocket?
Right. And there's no right or wrong answer here. It's all about finding what works for you, your goals, and how much risk you're comfortable with.
Exactly. And diversification is super important too.
Mm-hmm.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Think about a mix of assets, traditional stuff like stocks and bonds, and then some alternatives like gold and crypto. That way, you're more balanced and can handle those market swings a bit better.
We saw how gold has done over the past 40 years.
Right.
Basically doubled in value when you adjust for inflation.
Hmm.
It might not sound as exciting as those potential 10,000% crypto gains, but it's important to remember that what happened in the past doesn't guarantee anything about the future.
Exactly. And while those big crypto gains are tempting, they come with a lot of risk. It's a volatile market, so you got to do your homework, understand the technology, and be prepared to potentially lose money.
So whether you're a seasoned investor or just starting out, the key is to stay informed, stay curious, and always keep learning. The investing world is always changing, and those who can adapt and learn new things are going to be the ones who succeed.
Well said. Investing is a marathon, not a sprint. It's all about smart decision making, managing risk, and focusing on those long-term goals.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We hope you found it helpful and informative. Until next time, happy investing, everyone.